Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am SHAFI'U Suleiman. Kano, the Northern Commercial City Center, has again been faced with an unprecedented royal rumble following the dissolution of an earlier created Emirates by the Abdullahi Ganduje administration, which at the time also dethroned the 14th Emir of Kano, Mohammed II, and installed Aminu Ado Bayero as the 15th Emir of Kano. The repealing of the enabling law backing the new Emirates by the Kano State Assembly and subsequent reinstatement of Sanusi Lamid Sanusi as the 16th Emir and the return of the newly dethroned Emir to the Emirate Annex Kofar Nasarawa have heralded an intense royal and political maneuvers that have led the commercial city in a state of confusion. While the political actors in the Kano Emirship Stalemate resort to the underground moves to establish their influence and relevance in the Kano polity, there are growing concerns over what some see as strategic positioning and political interests outside of Kano to take advantage of polarization and the weakening of the hitherto traditional and cultural bastion of the northern region. It is against this backdrop we'll be interfacing with a stakeholder in Kano politics and a director of information of the All Progressives Congress APC, BALA IBRAHIM. We'll also be joined by an NNPP chieftain, Mohammed Jamu, from Kano via Zoom to give us his perspectives on the Emirship stalemate. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Shafi'U.
Now, before we commence the conversation, here are some tidbits. The Senate has lifted the suspension of Senator Abdul Ningi, who was suspended on March 12, 2024. The decision came after Deputy Minority Leader Senator Abba Moro moved a motion on Tuesday apologizing on Ningi's behalf and taking full responsibility for his actions. And the organized labor on Tuesday, May 28, staged a walkout during the tripartite committee meeting on minimum wage, rejecting the federal government's increased offer of 60,000 naira. The labor union, however, shifted its position from its previous stance of 497,000 naira to 494,000 naira. Now, the nation reported that the government had initially proposed 48,000 and 54,000 last week, both of which were rejected by the labor. Now, it is now time to take a break, and when we return, our conversation commences. Stay with us. Thank you very much once again for staying with us. And once again, welcome to the program, Malam BALA IBRAHIM.
Thank you very much, Shafi'U.
Yeah, I know you've been having, sleepless nights, so as to say, and you've been having a top, time appearing on television stations to talk about this Kano stalemate, and you've been following the development very, very keenly. But before we delve into the Kano issue, you've had some of the tidbits we read. The first has to do with the recall of Abdul Ningi, Senator Abdul Ningi. After a while, he was suspended for that whistleblowing action that he took, talking about discrepancy in the 2023 appropriation, 2024 appropriation. Do you see this coming, so soon?
What you mean, the recall coming so soon?
Yeah.
It ought to have come longer than this time. Yes, earlier than this time. In the first place, I was not in support of his suspension for the expression of his opinion on the floor of the Senate. I think democracy has given everyone the right to express his opinion. There is freedom, particularly a lawmaker, a representative of people who feel something has been done to the disadvantage of the people. Ventilating that issue on the floor of the Senate should not be seen as an offense so serious as to warrant suspension from the House. And if we allow this kind of thing to continue, definitely some areas will be underrepresented or they will be shortchanged. I feel people will even see it as a way of silencing their representative or denying legislators the right to express opinion as enshrined in the Constitution. So the recall is long overdue, and I hope the National Assembly, or the Senate in particular, will take cue and learn to avoid the occurrence of such in future.
Okay, even though some would say, you know, there are legislative rules and guidelines and so on, perhaps they are guided by that to take that decision. But then, looking at the nitty-gritty of the whole issue, beyond just recalling Senator Abdul Nengi, what happened to the issue raised? Because that's what Nigerians are concerned about. When there is an issue of anomaly, the one that has to do with financial, you know, discrepancy or something that was not done correctly, Nigerians ought to have seen the leadership of the Senate perhaps take such matter very seriously. There hasn't been any, I mean, serious efforts to unravel, you know, those allegations, if they were actually, and then there hasn't been any attempt to sanction if there are people who are found wanting in it.
Well, a number of senators have spoken denying or denouncing the position of Ningi. But the challenge is on the Senate to come out clean by instituting investigation, you know, to unravel, to check, to scrutinize everything in the budget, clinically clean every part of the budget, and making sure that they present a report to the National Assembly and to Nigerians by extension. If that report contradicts the position of Ningi, no one but Ningi will be shamed. Yes. But if it gives the slightest doubt, then Ningi is vindicated, even if not in the proportion he presented. The fact that there are some question marks in some areas suggests that yes, the budget was padded, and that even if Ningi did not get the complete picture of what happened, at least his whistleblowing had helped to bring about the kind of dirty games that go in the house. So it is for the National Assembly, I expect, to do a thorough investigation and bring a report to say that what Ningi said was not true, what Ningi did was
based on
wrong,
facts, you know.
based on facts, but not just to suspend him and put everything under the carpet. And Nigerians will continue to hold them onto that until they do it. Otherwise, every member of the Senate and probably member of the National Assembly will be viewed with question mark and doubt by his constituents.
And do you see, because some will say, you know, the suspension in a way is also some sort of deterrent, you know, to other lawmakers who would want to blow certain whistles like that. And then we've seen even in the face of that expose by Ningi, someone also talking about a certain amount of money that has been given to, you know, principal, I mean, ranking senators and so on. That one too has been left unchecked. And so, does this give Nigerians, I mean, how does this vindicate Nigeria, or rather, how does this indict, so to speak, the legislature, I mean the Senate in particular, especially if it fails, you know, to probe some of these key allegations?
Well, if the suspension serves to deter others from coming up with such whistleblowing attitude, then it exposes the excessiveness of the leadership of the National Assembly. It means there is high-handedness and that a lot of dirty dealings are done, and if anyone tries to expose it, he gets sanctioned. If they want to prove the reverse, like I said, they should hasten investigation and make it as transparent as it can be, and present a report to the Assembly, and the Assembly presents it to Nigerians. Nigerians now will say, yes, what has been done is a good job, and it shows that, yes, the legislature is willing to submit itself to
public scrutiny.
And it's indirectly saying that it's accountable to the people, which is what democracy is all about. That is the ambition of democracy. But if you say anybody who breathes above the temperature of the Senate, he will go on suspension, then it means the National Assembly is more or less becoming dictatorial, and that people cannot express opinion, and you cannot even trust them when it comes to legislative oversight on the side of the executive.
Right. Okay. Now, talking about the labor, federal government organized private sector talks, on this minimum wage or living wage, as they call it. There has been, a stalemate too, so to speak, even though there are some shifting grounds, from both sides. Initially, it was about 8,000, and now it has been taken to 60 thereabout. The offer has been increased to 60,000, and labor also shifted ground from 497 to 494. So it's a matter of adjusting some 1,000 naira and all of that. Do you see this? And then Nigerians are waiting, especially the workforce, wanting to see a living wage emerge, sooner than later, looking at the condition, the situation in the country.
Well, I always see the salary structure of the civil service in Nigeria as the most hopeless thing. Hopeless in the sense that you talk about pay home that doesn't take you home. You talk about living wage. I don't know whether there is anything like living wage. The thing is, much as the salary is not commensurate with the living standard in Nigeria, there is also the need for consideration to be put on the table with regards the economic situation vis-a-vis the strength of the pulse of the country. Now, if every worker will want to be paid 500,000 naira as the lowest, and we take into account the population of workers in the country, and we look at the population of the country as a whole, and take into account the percentage of people who live on salary, alongside those who don't live on salary, who are also Nigerians, and also entitled to benefit from the kitty, we'll see that those who are asking for that humongous amount are not being realistic. The government also, on the other side, should also look at what it budgeted for certain services to the people, and look at what it budgeted for the execution of those services, alongside what its members are also going to take in, and the kind of comfort that is allocated to them. The need for realistic assessment needs to come to the table. So you look at both sides. The government on the one side has things it needs to do to show that yes, it is a government of people that are servants. On the other side, the workers who are working need to also factor the fact that they are not the only Nigerians. As a matter of fact, they constitute a percentage that is less than 20.
Negligible, right?
It's negligible. What about the balance? Where are they going to get the money to survive when they have a right to what is there in the country? And at the end of the day, they all go to the same market.
Yeah, but talking about being realistic, perhaps the labor movement was able to defend the proposal. They were able to break down what this 500 thereabout then was meant for, looking at the current economic reality in the country. But then on the side of government, take for instance, you are offering 60,000 naira as minimum wage, or as living wage, because that's what they promised Nigerians in the first place. We're going to pay, had the president, during the campaign, telling Nigerians that he is not interested in, minimum wage, he's interested in giving Nigerians a living wage. So 60,000 naira, assuming it's a living wage. The federal government should also has to defend what 60,000 naira can do. Going by the current reality, you can't even buy a bag of rice.
Well, sure. That is why I say the most hopeless thing in this country is the salary structure of the civil service. When you look at it, the entire package is not realistic. But yet, we have people who are living on that package, and the speed of going to grave is not heightened. people survive. I think, you see, we just need to, instead of living minimum or what, let us talk of realistic wage. Let us look at a salary that a worker can take.
They can take the workers home.
And even if it doesn't take them home, let them find a way of getting home in a way and manner that does not ruin the economy and does not injure others that are not on salary. Because if you only take the workers home and leave the rest in the bush or in the market, you've not achieved anything. When you take the insignificant number home and the significant number cannot even come out of their home, I think there is a disparity that needs to be addressed. My position is that Labour and the government needs to be realistic. The government must cut down on lavish lifestyle. The government must cut down on waste. It must cut down on excessive aggrandizement. There are certain things we ought to discard. And the Labour should be realistic and ask for what the government can afford, what the government can give, and think of the larger percentage of the society that are not getting anything from the government.
Right, okay. Now, let's take us to our conversation, the Kano Royal Rumble, some would say, a stalemate, so to speak. We're left with the situation where you have two MS, one in the main Emirate Council and the other at the annex. And both of them operating and claiming to be. I know there are a number of conflicting, court orders. I wouldn't want us to discuss the details, but then that should be also a starting point, because orders are coming. Some say, okay, evict this, stop parading yourselves, and then looking at also the temperament, those coming from the state high court are aligned with what the state government wants, and those coming from the federal high court are also in line with, the other side of the divide. Let me get your view on this.
Well, there is a popular joke in Hausa that said, Kano Timbingiwa, Kode Mekazo Ampika.
That's right.
Now, literally what this is saying is that Kano, it's a sea of everything. And from whatever angle you come, you cannot beat the Kano people. And if we go on a lighter note, this is manifesting by way of saying Kano has shown the world that it can have two emirs and survive the situation for some days without the structure coming down.
But Nigerians would ask, for how long will this continue? Yes.
Well, I don't want to go into the legality of what happened.
Right.
But if we are to look at the tradition, the atmosphere, the shenanigans that played out, we will say this is politics played wrongly.
Okay. Local politics or national politics?
Politics, local and national, I guess, played politics. When I say local, I mean the government at the state level that started the Brahoha. When I say national...
Now consolidated on the Brahoha, because it didn't start it. It started some years ago.
No. You see, the way the whole thing is played out, even though I'm not a lawyer, I will say it's something that was done in a hurry, and on the surface it looks wrongly done. Wrongly done in the sense that we were told the State Assembly had dissolved
the other four emirates.
The four emirates that were created by the former regime of Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. But listening to the announcement from the government, I didn't hear where they say Kano Emirate has been dissolved. I didn't hear that. All I heard is that the former emir, the 14th emir, has been reinstated as the 16th emir of Kano. That is Muhammad Sanusi II. Now, I know this is going to be done in court. The lawyers will argue that in court, and it is their business.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you can have another emir without removing the incumbent emir. That is for the lawyers to do. So that is why I say it is the state government that started this by bringing to us that yes, the emirates have been dissolved and a new emir has been given.
Have been reinstated.
The former emir has been reinstated, which has been challenged in court. It is the court that will decide whether the reinstatement is right or wrong. That is for the court. Anything at this level will be sub judice.
That's right.
But I believe its politics played wrongly. Wrongly in the sense that now we're having a situation where one is guarded by the law, one is guarded by another thing, not by the law, because the police said they recognize Aminu Ado Bayero.
Based on the existing court order.
Based on the court order, which says status quo ante must be maintained. Whereas supporters of Sanusi are also giving him protection at the MS Palace. And Aminu Ado Bayero is at the Nasarawa Palace under the protection of the military. So I say national politics because military has come in, and military are not under anybody's control at the lower level. So I think it's a combination of...
But some will also argue that it is within the jurisdiction of the state legislature, perhaps, to come up with the law, to repeal the law, and then just like it was done during the Dr. Ibrahim Ganduje's regime, it was the same state assembly that was used to change the law, to come up with the creation, of those emirates and so on, and what gave birth, to the deposition, if you like, of the 14th emir then. So now they also hold on to the fact that they have legal backing, if you like, where they have the constitutional backing to do what they did.
Yes, they have. They have the constitutional backing to repeal the law. They have. But what I'm saying is that I didn't hear them say, I heard them say they repealed the law that was enacted by the Ganduje regime some 5...
The one that balkanized the entire emirate.
Yes, the law was enacted about 5 years ago. But I didn't hear them say they repealed the law that set up Kano Emirate, which is over 100 years. So if you don't repeal the law that established Kano Emirate, how do you get the emir of Kano involved in this? The emirs of Gaya, Rano, Bichi, and Karaye, yes, the law was enacted some 4 or 5 years ago and it has been repealed. But Kano Emirate supersedes Kano State.
Right. Okay, but then I also had, I don't know where they talked about, where they did say that, the 5 new emirs would have to vacate their seats within 48 hours. And so on. Does this include also perhaps the main emirate, that is the Kano Emirate? If they're talking about 5 emirs would have to, vacate their seats within 48 hours.
So that's why I say this is for lawyers. At best, I can be described as a carpenter. I don't know anything. So I think the argument can best be done by lawyers. We are laymen in this, but we only work with the information that is in the public domain. And then we look at the rationale and see whether action was taken in the right or wrong direction. So for now, I think, and that's why I say is politics played wrongly. The legality will be argued in court. We can probably talk about the morality, but even that one is also subject to individual opinion.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now looking at politics, gone wrong. As you said, some would say it started with perhaps the Ganduje administration because it's a matter of differences. The fact that there hasn't been the government then was not in cahoot, if you like, or was not in the best relationship with the then emir. And that's what led to the whole thing, the balkanization and the subsequent dethronement. To some, that shouldn't have happened. Politics should be taken separately away from traditional and cultural, issues. Do you agree with those who are making that assertion?
Well, I agree with those who feel traditional institutions are dragged into politics, and that is not healthy. Yeah. That is not good. This is supposed to be an institution that is revered, is an institution that is well respected, is supposed to be the parent of all. We see the traditional institution as an institution that should oversee our values, should oversee our culture, and to some extent our religion. So when you drag them into politics, you are indirectly diluting their merit and making them to be looked as card-carrying members or partisan in a sense. Yeah. So I don't like that. And I feel it's time for the politicians to detach the traditional institution from politics. Otherwise, we'll continue to have this one step forward and three steps backward. Every government will come with its own set of traditional rulers. When it leaves, someone will come and demolish them and install his own, and that will bring disrespect to the institution.
Yeah, talking about politics, some are also linking it to the national politics. A number of people are insinuating that the central government perhaps may had interest in it. At some point, the deputy governor even accused the NSC of backing, the dethroned emir and all of that. But why should perhaps politicians, because of their selfish interest or because of their, permutations ahead of 2027, resort to reducing this very important institution, one that has his century of history, very strategic in northern Nigeria, to go this low, because of politics at the national level?
Well, it's wrong, it's bad, it's not good if we drag traditional title holders into politics, because like I said, the respect they command will be diluted. But anybody who is interested in national politics, particularly in the presidency of Nigeria, and he tells you he is not interested in what happens to Kano, is deceiving himself or deceiving you. He's not telling the truth. Kano is the biggest reservoir of votes in Nigeria. Kano
has about the second or third. The second.
It has well over.
In terms of
registered voters.
Population, right?
Yeah, in terms of population, is the most populous. Registered voters, yes, they compete. It competes with Lagos, because of the level of voter awareness. Yes, but still, that is arguable. There are people who feel, because Kano has the largest number of local governments, and one of the local governments that is in contention under this in this crisis has the largest number of registered voters. Right. So anybody who is interested in the presidency of Nigeria and he doesn't show interest in what happens in Kano is deceiving himself, because if you don't get Kano, probably your chances of becoming the president are less. If you get Kano, you become closer to the villa, and therefore you must show interest in what happens and follow it.
The extent of making the traditional a chase game.
No. That is not to say game, right? you should allow this kind of dirty politics to play. I am not supporting that. Right. What I am saying is that some people, in their desperation to be there, they can do anything. But there is the need for people who are in power, particularly those who have the duty of protecting the institution, not to succumb, not to allow themselves to be dragged into this. Because if they do, they are playing to the gallery, and all the politician is interested in is just to get the vote.
Right, with a stalemate, and perhaps the concerns around this political crisis, if you like, there are a number of stakeholders, including the ulamas, and so on, have been asking for a strain. But there seems not to be solution inside. How do you think this stalemate can be resolved very quickly? I understand.
The only way to get it is for the court to expedite action. Yeah. I think if there is a way the court can be made to sit 25 hours a day, they should be made to sit 25 hours a day to hasten taking decision on this. And if the matter is going to appeal, let it go to appeal fast. If it's going beyond that, let there be accelerated hearing. Let there be a quick resolution to this problem. If we allow it to linger, it will linger to the detriment of the general politics. And if care is not taken, it may even lead to something sinister that may affect the integrity of democracy in Nigeria, God forbid.
Right, and how does this affect the ordinary people? I understand, there's some level of restraint on the part of the public. It wasn't like it used to be. Kano seems to be volatile when it comes to issues like this, but it appears the ordinary citizens have also come to realize that this shenanigans or this, fight between the elite or between the royal, figures, it's not something that they should join. Everybody's going about his normal business. But the concern is that there are pockets of threats, just like the police has said. They are uncovered certain plans to burn down the state assembly and so on. How do you think this can be managed?
Well, you see, the way and manner people are conducting their affairs in Kano, despite this, is also a show of the sophistication and polish of the mentality of the Kano people. It shows people in Kano can still, despite all these challenges, they have a culture or attitude to show the people that yes, we are Kano people, and that we don't have to go according to the dictates or expectations of going violent on issues that can be handled and addressed with maturity. Now Kano people are expressing that maturity by not going violent, by not disrupting activities. Kano is Nigeria's oldest commercial center. The markets are working. Everything is going well. Other people on the ground are inciting and instigating people to do things that will suit them. I hope that in the long run, the people will resist that and not play to the gallery.
Right, thank you very much, Madam BALA Ibrahim, for talking to us on Daily Politics. We also appreciate your informed perspective on this issue. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Shafi'U.
And this is where we have to take a short break. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. And if you're just joining, this is Daily Politics, reaching you live from Trust TV. You can do well by following us across our social media platforms and also watch us live on YouTube. And now joining us for the conversation tonight is an NNPP chieftain and also the special advisor to Governor Abba Yusuf on international and national relations, talking about Mohammed Yusuf Jamu. He joins us from Kano to give us his perspective on this lingering, traditional, if you like, struck political crisis in Kano. Thank you for joining us, Mohammed.
Thank you so much, my brother. I hope you're good and everybody is having an amazing time in Abuja.
Great. And how is Kano this evening? I understand there has been conflicting, court orders that have deepened, the confusion among the citizens of the state concerning where to go or where to believe. What's the situation like?
Well, the most important thing, Kano is calm and Kano is very peaceful. The people of Kano are going about their normal businesses. And we as a government, we're doing everything humanly possible to make sure that lives and properties of people are protected while this procedure goes on. It's just an unfortunate situation whereby a legitimate procedure is being truncated with actions that we don't even know or even understand why and who is behind all these things.
Okay, yeah, but earlier, before now, just a while ago, you've had Malam BALA Ibrahim talking about perhaps some of the misconceptions, if you like, around the seeming legislative action, that took place. He talked about the gap that was left, in the pronouncement as to whether the Emirate Council, that is the main Emirate Council, is part of the Emirates that were dissolved. 4 of them were said to have been dissolved, by the State Assembly, but it wasn't clear whether that also affect the main Emirate Council and then the dethronement of the Emir himself.
Okay, let me give you a scenario. His Royal Highness Alhaji Sunusi Lamido Sunusi was the sole Emir of Kano State. And then thereafter, the on-government administration of Abdullahi Umar Ganduje balkanized the Kano State Emirate system, and they created 5 emirates within Kano State. That 5 emirates included Kano State. And while creating those 5 emirates, they classified the number of local governments that belongs to each of those 5 emirates. So by the time the State Assembly amended that was enacted under the administration of Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, automatically all the 5 emirates stands dissolved, and they no longer exist again, and then only 1 emirate existed. So what Malam Bala Ibrahim was a little bit confused is that Kano already existed. No, Kano used to be one that existed before the balkanization into the 5 emirates. And after the balkanization, 5 emirates, which included Kano, were created with numbers of local governments. So the whole bills, there were 3 bills that were enacted under the government of Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. All those 3 bills were all brought together, or rather the act of the State Assembly, and they were repealed. So automatically all the 5 have gone. And even beyond that, the letter of dethronement were served on all the 5 emirs, including the one from Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero. All 5 of them were served with letters of with their letters, and then a new appointment letter of a sole Kano emir was given to Alhaji Mohammed Sunusi II. So there was no confusion from the state government or the State Assembly. There was no omission of any act throughout the procedure. It was all taken care. That bill that repealed the 2019 Act was all encompassing, and it has carried along and eschewed all the thoughts that he has.
Okay, another area of concern, by many stakeholders, including observers, was also the decision by the state government to disregard, if you like, a federal high court order asking that status quo should be maintained, meaning that the dethronement should not take place until certain issues are resolved. How does the state government took this, and why did it decided not to respect this court order? Mohammed Jama, if you're there, I hope you get the questions right.
Are you hearing me?
Okay, you get the question concerning an earlier
Yes, I got the question. Okay, let me respond to it.
Okay. Okay, you can go ahead.
In fact, Kano State government respect the State Assembly started their procedure. From the beginning of the procedure up to when the State Assembly concluded their procedure, there was no order from the court. And then the State Assembly transmitted the bill to the governor, and the governor of Kano State signed that bill and concluded the procedure of dethroning the 5 emirs and appointing the emir or reappointment of the emir, Alhaji Sunusi Lamido Sunusi. Those acts ended at exactly 10 minutes after 5 p.m. on Thursday. And at 10 minutes after 5 p.m. when the procedure was concluded, there was no court order. There was no even news about any court order until midnight, when the news on the social media of a court order started flying around. So let me even tell you, the Kano state government only received officially that court order today, the 28th of May 2024. And as the state government received the order, they made it public that they have received the order. So what that order says is that status quo ante should be maintained. So as at when Kano State got the order, even if it was when they heard it on the social media that there was an order, status quo ante as at that time is that all the 5 emirs have been dethroned and a new emir has been appointed. That is the understanding. And every lawyer that you will talk with will tell you this. Meanwhile, whatever it is, we will still maintain our respect for the court. Come rain, come shine, we must respect any order that comes from the court of competent jurisdiction.
Yes, you earlier talked about the situation in Kano being calm. You know, there's a peaceful atmosphere in spite of pockets of resistance or some protests, you know, before now by the supporters, if you like, or I think both parties. But you are managing a very critical situation, having 2 emirs claiming the throne. Now, Emir, the 16th Emir, Sanusi Lamid Sanusi, living in the Rumpa, you know, palace, and Aminu Ado Bayero living in the Nasarawa palace. So, how is the state government managing this situation? Very unlikely. Very unusual, rather.
Yes, I'm back.
Yes, you get a question? The question I ask is this, you know, how is the state government managing the situation now? I happen to deal with 2 emirs claiming to the throne of Kano, you know, with Emir Sanusi, Lamid Sanusi at the Rumpa Palace, and then the Aminu Ado Bayero living in the Nasarawa Palace, the mini palace. How is the state government managing this situation? It is unusual.
Yeah, it's very unusual. All I can tell you is that the state government has been working round the clock with all the security agencies in the state, and all is being done so that the most important thing for us at this particular moment is to reduce tension within the state and make sure that this seeming thing that is happening, we find a logical conclusion to it as quickly as possible. Already the state government has approached the court of competent jurisdiction. You know, let me tell you one thing, even from the legal perspective, what is happening? The first complainant went to the Federal High Court to complain that his fundamental human right has been violated by the dethronement and the amendment and repeal of that act of the State Assembly that enacted the 5 emirates 4 years ago. But even on this matter, there has been several instances where the Supreme Court has already settled this matter, time without number.
Well,
let me cite an example. There is the case of Tukur versus Gongola. That is the case of the Emir of Muri.
Okay, I wouldn't want us to like jump into the legal issues because they are subsidies at this point in time. They are, yeah. So I want us to restrict our perhaps intervention only on the impact of the stalemate and the political undertones. Let me get your perspective. You know, there has been concerns around the fact that the whole of this tussle, if you like, is just political and. It's aimed at, you know, repositioning, if you like, will having influence ahead of 2027 election. Should that, I mean, should politics be joined with traditional issues like this, especially as in respect to a very important institution like Kano Emirate?
Yeah, people outside Kano keep looking at this matter from the political perspective of it. But in reality, let me tell you, it goes beyond that. Kano is an ancient city that recognizes, respects, values, treasures, and loves its history. This is a state that has a history that dates back more than 1,000 years ago. If you look at even the Emirate style of leadership here in Kano State, it is something that has been in existence for so many years. And Kano Emirate did not come with a single individual's fiat. It came with battles, with a lot of wars fought, and a lot of conquering, a lot of blood were shed, a lot of emirs lost their lives, a lot of them were kicked out of their throne, and so many things happened before the kingdom of Kano State, if you may wish to call it a kingdom, came into existence. So now the balkanization of the Kano State, which started first under the late Alhaji Abubakar Rimi of blessed memory. May the good Lord continue to bless his gentle soul. He started the balkanization in 1983. And because Kano people will always resist the balkanization of their history, when late Alhaji Sabo Bakinzo II of blessed memory came in as the governor of Kano State, he restored the glory of the Emirate and Kano State and made it back and dissolved those emirates. So even now, when Abdullahi Umar Ganduje decided to balkanize it, the Kano people still resisted it. Alhaji Abba Kabir Yusuf told his supporters, even during the campaigns, that what do you want? And the people keep saying, restore our emirate into one. And then he said, this is what I'm going to do when I become. I tell you, even apart from that, the governor of Kano State, too, he belongs to the dynasty. Alhaji Ibrahim Dabo is the father of the modern emirate of. Talks about Kano, they say Kanawan Dabo. I don't know if.
Yes, we're having some issues with the audio right there, but then
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, even though I want to ask you this because time is really not on our side. Yes, you supported, if you like, or you provided a basis for the balkanization, yes, restoring the dignity, if you like, of the emirate and so on, but some will find it difficult to understand why the governor goes beyond just, bringing back the emirate into one, but then went ahead to also dethrone an emir that was that was in place. Why should he do so if it is not politically inclined?
Okay, let me tell you one thing I said about Alhaji Abba Kabir Yusuf. He belongs to the dynasty too. Alhaji Ibrahim Dabo, the late emir of Kano State, gave birth to the emir of Kano Maje Karofi. The emir of Kano Maje Karofi gave birth to Galadiman Kano Bashir. Galadiman Kano Bashir gave birth to Dammakwayan Kano Yusuf. Dammakwayan Kano gave birth to Alhaji Kabiru, and Alhaji Kabir gave birth to Abba, who is currently the governor of Kano State. So just like Alhaji Amina Ado Bayero, just like Sunusi Lamida Sunusi, just like Abba Kabir Yusuf, both of them are all all the three of them are descendants of Alhaji Ibrahim Dabo. So if there is anybody that would be more passionate than what is the remains of the dynasty of Alhaji Ibrahim Dabo, there is no any other person more than the current governor of Kano State, Alhaji Abba Kabir Yusuf. And I know he is doing it in the best interest of the dynasty of Alhaji Ibrahim Dabo, because he knows what his parents, his grandparents, the kind of war which they directly fought with their blood, with their energy to maintain the dynasty of what Kano State used to be and what he has restored it into. So when you look at the persona of Alhaji Abba Kabir Yusuf, you will understand why we say there is no politics to this.
But you didn't answer my question. I talked about if there is no politics, why removing the incumbent emir? He has already been installed as the 15th emir of Kano. You repeal, a law that balkanized the emirate, sacking the new emirates. Why also dethroning the emir?
Look, my brother, if you are going to any war, or let's say if you are going for development, or if you are going for anything, you feel it for a football game, or anything, you feel your first 11. Your first 11 is always what you want at the forefront. With what Nigeria is and what Nigeria stands for today, if you want to feel a first 11, Alhaji Sunusi Lami Sunusi, Mohammed Sunusi II, fits into being the first 11. the Kano State people, and Kano State can be proud to present as their emir, someone who is very sound economically, someone who the Kano State government can be able to work together with him and tap on the vast knowledge he has on the economy and the research he has, so that we can be able to develop. Don't forget, we are a state whereby we have large population, and we are having every day the population of Kano is growing, and the economy of Kano is so backward. When you look at it, even today when we're looking at our IGR, even Kaduna State is far ahead than Kano State when it comes to IGR. So we need the best brains, the best hands on deck. And I'm sure with that thinking in mind, not for the politics of it, Alhaji YUSUF, our governor, decided to work with Alhaji Sunusi as the emir of Kano State.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed Yusuf Jamo.